Alright guys, so we are reading chapter 3, and chapter 3 is called Pooh and Piglet Go Hunting and Nearly Catch a Weasel. So this chapter is about 4 or 5 pages long. It's not very long, so we'll get through it quickly. So let's get started. The piglet lived in a very grand house in the middle of a beech tree. And the beech tree was in the middle of the forest, and the piglet lived in the middle of the house. Next to his house was a piece of broken board, which had Trespassers W on it. When Christopher Robin added the piglet what it meant, he said it was his grandfather's name and had been in the family for a long time. Christopher Robin said you couldn't call Trespassers W, and Piglet said yes you could, because his grandfather was it and so short for Trespassers Will, which was sort of Trespassers William, and his grandfather had 2 names in case he lost one, Trespassers after an uncle, and William after Trespassers. I've got 2 names, said Christopher Robin carelessly. Well, there you are. That proves it, said Piglet. One fine winter's day, when Piglet was brushing away the snow in front of his house, he had happened to look up, and there was Winnie the Pooh. Pooh was walking around and around in a circle, thinking of something, and when Piglet called to him, and he just went on walking. "Hello," said Piglet. "What are you doing?" "Hunting," said Pooh. "Hunting what?" "Tracking something," said Winnie the Pooh very mysteriously. "Tracking what?" said Piglet, coming closer. "That's what I asked myself." What do you think you'll answer?" "I shall have to wait until I catch up with it," said Winnie the Pooh. "Now look there." He pointed to the ground in front of him. "What do you see there?" "Tracks," said Piglet. "Paw marks." He gave a little squeak of excitement. "Oh, Pooh! Do you think it's a weasel?" "It may be," said Pooh. "Sometimes it is, and sometimes it isn't. You never can tell with paw marks." With those few words, he went on tracking, and Piglet, after watching him for a moment or two, and ran after him. Winnie the Pooh had came to a sudden stop and was bending over the tracks in a puzzled sort of way. "What is the matter?" asked Piglet. "It's a very funny thing," said Pooh. "But there seems to be 2 animals now. This, whatever it was, has been joined by another, whatever it is, and the 2 of them are now proceeding in company. Would you mind coming with me, Piglet, in case they turn out to be hostile animals?" Piglet scratched his ear in a nice sort of way and said that he had nothing to do until Friday, and would be delighted to come in case it was really a weasel. "You mean in case it really is 2 weasels," said Winnie the Pooh, and Piglet said that anyhow he had nothing to do until Friday. So off they went together. There was a small spinney of large trees just here, and it seems as the two weasels, if that it is what they were, had been going around that spinney so round that Spinny went Pooh and Piglet after them. Piglet passing the time by telling Pooh what his grandfather, Trespassers W, had done to remove sniffness after tracking, and how his grandfather, Trespassers W, had stepped in his later years from shortness of breath and other matters of interest. And Pooh wondered what a grandfather was like, and if perhaps that was two grandfathers they were after now, and if so, whether he would be allowed to take one home and keep it, and what Christopher Robin would say. And still, the tracks went on the front of them. Suddenly, Winnie the Pooh stopped and pointed excitedly in front of them. "Look!" "What?" said Piglet. "What?" with a jump, and then, to show that he hadn't been frightened, he jumped up and down once or twice in an exciting sort of way. "The tracks!" said Pooh. "A third animal has joined the other two." "Pooh," cried Piglet, "do you think it is another weasel?" "No," said Pooh, "because it makes different track marks. It is either two weasels and one, as it might be weasel or two, and it might be weasels and one. If so, it looks like weasel. Let us continue to follow them." So they went on, feeling just a little excited. Now, in case the three animals in front of them were docile and intent, and Piglet wished very much that his grandfather T.W. were there instead of elsewhere, and Pooh thought how nice it would be if they met Christopher Robin suddenly, but quietly, quite accidentally, and only because he liked Christopher Robin so much. And then all of a sudden Winnie the Pooh stopped again and licked the tip of his nose in a cooling manner, for he was feeling more hot and anxious than ever in his life before. There were four animals in front of them. "Do you see, Piglet? Look at their tracks. Three as it were weasels, and one as it was weasel. Another weasel had joined them, and so it seemed to be. There were the tracks crossing over each other here, getting muddled up with each other there, but quite plainly every now and then the tracks of four sets of paws. "I think," said Piglet, when he had licked the tip of his nose too, and found that it brought very little comfort, "I think that I have just remembered something. I have just remembered something that I forgot to do yesterday, and shouldn't be able to do tomorrow. So I suppose I really ought to go back and do it now." "Well, we'll do it this afternoon, and I'll come back with you," said Pooh. "It isn't that sort of thing you can do in the afternoon," said Piglet quietly. "It's a particular morning thing that has to be done in the morning, and if possible, be 20 the 20 the hours of. What would you say the time was? About 12, said Winnie the Pooh, looking at the sun. Between, as I was saying, the hours of 12 and 12:05. So really, dear old Pooh, if you'll excuse me, what's that? Pooh looked up at the sky, and then as he heard the whistle again, he looked up into the branches of a big oak tree, and then he saw his friend. He saw a friend of his. Then you'll be all right," said Piglet. "You'll be quite safe with him. Goodbye." And he trotted off home as quickly as he could, very glad to be out of the danger again. Christopher Robin came slowly down the tree. "Silly old bear," he said. "What were you doing? First, you went around this spiny twice by yourself, and then Piglet ran after you, and you went around again together, and then you were just going around a fourth time." "Wait a minute," said Winnie the Pooh, holding up his paw. He sat down and thought, in the most thoughtful way he could think. Then he fitted his paw onto one of the tracks, and then he scratched his nose twice and stood up. "Yes," said Winnie the Pooh. "I see now," said Winnie the Pooh. "I have been foolish and dull-witted," said he, "and I am a bear of no brain at all." "You're the best bear in the world," said Christopher Robin, smoothly. "Am I?" said Pooh hopefully, and then he brightened up suddenly. "Anyhow," he said, "it is nearly luncheon time," so he went home for it. All right, that is the end of chapter 3. So next time I see y'all, which will be hopefully tomorrow, we will read chapter 4. So I'll see y'all later. Bye.